Departing Quito, it's but a short flight to the town of Coca, where this adventure begins. The airport is a fairly informal affair, and soon Wilms is out on the street heading for the docks, looking very intrepid, stomping through the streets in a red life jacket. These longboats ferry passengers up and down the river. The one assigned to us is destined downstream to a place called Sacha Lodge, deep in the wilds. While the head crewman delivers a mandatory safety speech, the boat chugs away at a surprisingly sensible speed within the proximity of the town. Approaching the bridge, it turns to open water, where the throttle is given a violent twist, and we are officially underway. As one might expect in this environment, the watercourse serves as a main highway for the region. Big trucks taking it easy on the backs of barges going to and fro. The Rio Napo runs from the East Andean volcanoes of Antisana and travels for over 1,000 kilometres into Peru, where it joins the mighty Amazon.
After a couple of hours, the boat pulls into shore to offload its passengers and luggage. From the docks on the river, travelers make their way by foot down a pathway through the jungle that leads to a small creek. Here, ferrymen in large canoes receive their passengers to paddle away down the gloomy channel. As an overview, we see the Rio Napo and the small creek we currently occupy. This leads to a blackwater lagoon. Then, as we follow it to the end, there's Sacha Lodge, nestled in where the swamp meets the jungle. Just as our vessel emerges into the lake, billowing dark clouds rush overhead and release a torrent of water upon us. Mike and Eli are the only two prepared for the scenario beneath heavy oilskin coats.
Fierce gusts of wind, pounding rain in the canoe. Why have I got the feeling we've seen this before?
The canoe crew vigorously powers the craft through the water, buffeted by gusts of winds. It's with great effort they finally reach the lodge, all occupants looking like drowned rats. The camp manager bravely steps out to greet his new arrivals, he himself drenched to the bone in mere seconds. As the deluge continues outside, we're briefed on the lodge and the coming activity.
We were almost 4 weeks without rain. Rain started last week. And that before was dry season.
Once the storm is past and everything is settled, we can tour the area. This is the main dining quarters on a deck with lakeside views, and out in front is a caged swimming pool so visitors can swim with less risk of being mauled by something horrible. From here, a walkway takes one back into the forest alongside a small channel where the canoes are moored. The next structure one encounters is the bar and secondary dining area. It's an artistically built multi-story structure that looks back out towards the lake. The ground is still very muddy, so high walkways enable guests to move about without wading through filth. Looking down, we can get perspective and see the lodging farther back amongst the trees. Interconnected wooden platforms provide access to the cabins that inside are spacious and luxurious. Rising high above the forest, we see our proximity to the river snaking its way towards Peru, and in this direction, back upstream towards Coca. A beer and a relaxing read about ornithology are the prelude to the main event, an extravagant buffet dinner in addition to soups, fruits, and dessert.
It's early morning, and we've been placed into small groups and allocated guides for the duration of our stay. Narrow, muddy trails lead us deeper into the jungle. Our chief guide is Fausto, leading the march for 20 minutes or so to a tower of steel and steps rising up above the trees. Ascending the stairs deliver us through the steaming mist and high above the canopy to a magical sunrise over the Oriente. 3 impressive towers connected by narrow suspension bridges span a length of quite a lot and reach a height of quite a bit above the forest floor. Our other guide Shanshu sets up a spotting scope, a handy tool to better see the forest's arboreal creatures. The relatively cool mornings are a peak of activity for many jungle inhabitants, and a prime time to be poised among and above the treetops.
Obviously part of the toucan family, the many-banded aracari are our first customers of the day, boldly approaching to close quarters using the wire cables as a perch for their social gatherings. In the distance, a crested ore pendula puts on a display for anyone who might be watching. The most numerous and conspicuous of the ore pendula is the russet-back. This one's on the hunt for some breakfast. The pied puffbird, usually seen in pairs, prefers to position itself at the edge of the foliage with a clear space to ambush insects, another convenience of the wire cables. Learning Ecuador's zillions of tanager species is a challenge second only to its flycatchers. These ones are masked tanagers. Enjoying the warmth of the morning sun high in the treetops are red howler monkeys, the color of their fur making them stand out even at a good distance.
This is a magnificent structure.
Down in the leaf litter and shrubs on the shadowy forest floor is a whole new world of activity. Our guide spots a wiretail mannequin, not an easy find despite its brilliant colors.
Going about as well as I expected. So it looks like the caiman was the only character that liked the popper. We don't want to hook her. Name's Lucy and she's a she. Next we're going to try one of these spinning, twirling things and see how that goes. Teeth of a piranha.
Piranha may not be as dangerous as Hollywood would have us believe, and caiman may not be the most sinister of crocodilians, yet this fellow is a lot braver than me. Life around the edges of the lake is prolific, and by canoe or even from the lodge itself yields rewards. Huatzin, otherwise known as stinkbirds, are a strange lakeside dweller that really don't seem to have a busy schedule. You can have so much fun trying to identify this species of flycatcher amongst the many. At least the smooth-billed Annie is a little more distinctive. Turtles cluster on a submerged log. The lakeside is also home to the conspicuous black-capped Donocobius and the aninga, or snakebird. The trees along the shoreline allow far superior viewing of squirrel monkeys than deeper in the thick bush where just blurry silhouettes can be made out moving in the treetops above. Open space and sunlight allow the onlooker to fully appreciate their antics as they go about their daily business. Around mid-afternoon, the heavy clouds begin to roll in, and right on time, a deluge cascades from the sky. After the sun sets and the world around is cloaked in darkness, we find ourselves in a canoe to see what horrors can be found deep in the shadows of the jungle. It's Fausto's idea that a bit of a leg stretch is needed, and off into the forest on foot we go. Nocturnal adventurers must be cautious not to step into the path of the leafcutter ants. They'll certainly liven up your life if they swarm up your pant leg. In the relative sanctuary of the shrubbery are untold numbers of weird invertebrates, including giant tarantulas.
They wrap around the banana leaves and they live inside. Yeah?
The following day sees us at it again, venturing deep into the wilderness. From a makeshift dock, our party proceeds on foot to yet another tower that will enable us to ascend into the massive branches of an equally massive tree. This is truly a unique experience looking out over the forest from this giant kapok, high enough to see the Rio Napo in the distance. Crowding the enormous branches are epiphytes basking in the sunlight that's denied those living below on the gloomy forest floor. Our job is to quietly hang out on the lofty platforms where the birds come to visit us.
Tanager, flame-crested tanager.
Back down in the lowlands, Fausto leads the mid-morning forest excursion. Along the way we spot a strange little toad, giant fungi, and the most fearsome of jungle dwellers, the bullet ant. Although not considered overly aggressive, the bite of this formidable insect is incredibly painful and said it's like being shot.
So what type of owl is this one?
Tawny-bellied screech owl.
Tawny-bellied screech owl.
Beautiful bird.
There's no way in the world I'd expect to see one of these little rat-like monkeys in the wild. The pygmy marmoset is the world's smallest primate, primarily feeding on tree sap or gum.
I don't know how these guys found a pygmy marmoset in this bush. Like, they know roughly where they are, but even that, still a needle in a haystack. It's like a little rat.
In these rainforests, towering trees develop large buttress-like root systems that help with stability, while enabling it to extract what goodness it can from the shallow, nutrient-poor soil. Wilmar and Fausto gather sap from a highly valued medical tree. Many scars adorn the trunk from previous visitors.
Lo que es principios de cáncer, también es para curar las heridas externamente, ¿ya? Cicatriza manchas, también es bueno para curar lo que es acné, espinilla, ¿ya?
The final highlight of the walk is a crested owl perched quietly in the thick brush offside the trail.
While most good pirates have a parrot on their shoulder, Mr. Foreman has to settle for a small spider. If a tree falls in the forest, it might just block the way.
We've had a large tree inconsiderately fall on our pathway. So, as we only have one cutting tool, the work of industry has fallen to one man, and the rest of us just sit back and relax, watch him work. Reminds me of the good old days when I worked on the main roads department.
There you go.
After some hard chopping and clearing, our guides have us back in the channel and paddling home to our base. Heading off to the Clay Lake this morning and also one of the local villages. Every morning, thousands of parrots arrive to eat the soil from the mineral-infused cliff face called a salado. Many of the foods eaten by these birds have toxins, but the minerals ingested here help to neutralize them. There are a number of different parrots in the mix, and identification can be tough. The larger green specimen with prominent white eye rings is a type of Amazon. The smaller specimens are a mix of blue-headed and dusky parrots. As one might expect, it's quite a raucous affair.
14 days.
Next is a trip up a small creek leading to a remote village. Well, everywhere's remote around here. We assemble in a thatched hall with some food cooking over a fire pit. Two ladies from the village, with our guides acting as interpreters, are going to explain some of the day-to-day activities in an Amazon community. The tucker cooking on the grill is an assortment of plantain, fish, coconuts, and grubs. To start things off is a nice hot cup of jungle tea in a coconut shell. This odd little nut burns like a candle that could be very dangerous in a thatch hut. It does have a mesmerising effect. Next, with a baby on the hip, various jungle produce is loaded into a tightly woven basket. When a basket is strapped to the forehead and a machete in hand, a girl is ready to head out into the bush. After that presentation, we observe the process involved to create a local brew made from the cassava root that's initially pulverised in a large wooden tub. Once this concoction is ready, it needs to sit for a few days to mature, so we are served some that has been pre-prepared. Fausto only accepts his in a huge bowl, convinced this sour fluid is great for your guts.
They have more, more.
Is this alcoholic, is it?
And remember the play was the two ladies jump off.
Little kick to it.
There's secondary school there.
While lunch is getting finalised, there's a quick reprieve outside which involves attempting to kill a small wooden parrot with a blow dart. A local man scurries away from the danger zone as Fausto takes aim.
That was close.
Upon our return, we find lunch is ready and laid out on a large plantain leaf.
The fish is really good.
Very good.
Also, we take a bean.
So is there like a technique to this? You chew it or?
Yeah, you should make sure that you don't take the head if you want, but
So
take
you
it from the
That's a
head.
very
Just
wet
take
cough.
take a bite? Doesn't actually taste bad.
No, it's a little bit. The only thing is that it's a little bit buttery, kind of the oil.
Kinda.
So just take a bite of this.
Yeah, use your hands, yeah.
Thick and chewy.
Let's save the big one for Wilms.
And they're all the same.
This is the plantains. Taking a whole plantain, or you want to split one?
Yes, you.
Alright, pop it in there. Down the hatch.
It's hard to get the head off. Skin's a little tough.
Look at the champ go.
Her face.
They don't bite, huh?
You have to know how it can bite.
Oh, okay.
That's why we take from the head.
So concludes this adventure, and we must leave the jungles of the Rio Napo and return to Quito. In the final chapter of this series, we will attempt to once again make it to the monuments of the equator and travel north near the Colombian border to the hilly regions of El Arenal. Make sure to join us for the final part of this series, Polylepis and the Middle of the Mundo.